Hello, I'm Gloria Horsley, and today I'm interviewing Kathleen Gilbert. Kathleen's an associate professor of Indiana University, and our topic today is how family members grieve. Well, Kathleen, you talk about something called differential grief, grieving. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
We typically think when we've had a loss that we've had the same loss, why don't we have the same grief? And in fact, we're different people going into the loss. We had a different relationship with the person. We have different skills. We're at there are all kinds of different contributors. And so why would we expect to have the same grief? But we do.
Well, what are some of the other things that contribute to differential grieving?
Well, you mentioned some of them. Developmental stages. Children, just because they look like they should understand what's going on, don't necessarily understand what's going on. They have to be retold many times because in order to really believe what they heard as really true, they have to hear it over and over again.
And that can be aggravating for a grieving parent, can it?
Absolutely. And adolescents, just because they're big, it doesn't mean they're grown. And so they're going to have different approaches, and people who are elderly might have problems. People who have developmental delays might find it challenging. And so we're in all sorts of different places.
Do people regress? Kids or?
Yes, oftentimes children will regress, and you know, we kind of fold back into ourselves and be kind of sort of like you know, stereotypic pictures of who we are. It's sort of like more rigidified versions of ourselves, and other things you know, will affect us. Gender, I mean, men and women typically will respond differently just because of our training from the time that we were little. And just all sorts of other factors. The relationship with the person who's died is also another crucial factor. Well, it's interesting that just knowing that you're grieving differently and that it's normal. I remember one young woman, a 16-year-old woman who told, yes, she told me, a 16-year-old girl told me after I did a presentation, she came up to me crying and she said, "Thank you for telling me I'm not weird."
Yeah, that's great.
Her mom and her son had been very emotional, and she was not. And so now she had permission to be herself. We learned from looking at each other. Gee, you did that. It worked for you, rather than you did something different from me. And what's wrong with you? Makes a big difference.
I love that it's normal. So, what would be your best piece of advice for people who are having grieving and seeing people do it differently?
My piece of advice is just recognize that this is normal, that it's okay, that it's kind of a bump in the road along the way, but it doesn't mean just because you're different from each other, it doesn't mean that one of you loved the person who died less. It doesn't mean that your grief is more real. It just means you're different.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.